Hello, this is John, co-owner of Brainstorm Comics and Gaming, and I'm here with Mr. Sizzle, Chandler Zirkle. For this week's Turning the Page, we are departing from our normal inside location. We are going outside this week. The gaming room is being used for a painting exhibition of the new Dominion set. I know most of the guys who do comics, there's a handful that do both, but most choose one hobby or the other. But so this week we have a series of topics. We're going to talk about the big Batman, Wonder Woman brouhaha going on. We're going to talk about Miles Morales' 10th anniversary coming up. We're going to talk about the Marvel canceling the orders of several all comic book shops for certain graphic novels. We're going to give our insights onto the Eisner Awards and who we think will win. And then we will close up with our third edition of Make John Look Like an Idiot by Chandler, which he enjoys that part. That's his favorite part.
It's my gift to the audience.
So we're going to start off with the Batman Catwoman fiasco. The Harley Quinn animated series creators, Justin Halpern and Patrick Schumacher, and anytime you have a Schumacher involved with anything, you can be sure that it's going to be terrible, but that's beyond the point.
I don't know if they're related.
What's that? Oh, no, they're not. It's totally spelled differently, but it would ruin the joke if I mentioned that. So they said that they wanted to include a line that implied certain sexual situations with Batman and Catwoman. Several of the creators within comic books have weighed in on this. And we're going to discuss that for our opening topic. I'll let you start, Chandler, since you know where I stand on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have far less of any kind of hot take on this. I think looking at it differently, it depends when you came into the fandom and what you know the character as, where as myself, this kind of version of Harley Quinn, not necessarily this TV show, but a lot of a version of this I have come to expect or think as normal, or if this isn't necessarily surprising. Was a little bit like head turned around, but like they were gonna say what? And like that a little bit, but again, that's kind of what I've come to know as normal regarding this character. But I understand for people who grew up with her just being in like the Harley Quinn outfit, the original Batman the Animated Series from '92, she is a far skip and a jump different from that character in a lot of ways: personality, look, design, several different voice actors, all different formats of media. But I think for those people, this is kind of a little bit of a awkward, difficult situation where they see her as maybe more of still like a child's cartoon character and not a Deadpool-esque, I'll say whatever comes to my mind, I'll break the fourth wall, swearing, profanity, all this type of character. I think it's kind of hard to see that in any regard, and this one, just with being sexually explicit and things like that, I think it kicks that up to an 11, to an overdrive, where some people who view still that character in that box, it's really hard for them to see that character outside the box, and this is very far outside that box.
So I'm going to start off by saying I am one of those that grew up with the Harley Quinn character being the jester, the happy-go-lucky, kind of goofy, psychotic Harley Quinn, instead of what she's become today, thanks to video games and
the internet,
a hypersexualized, over-violent type character. You mentioned Deadpool. I would say Deadpool followed the trajectory, except for the over-sexualization part of it, but he went much faster down that pathway, pretty much within like 3, 4, 5 years of becoming that character. Plus, he was born within comic books and was a violent character from the very beginning. I will also say I have had many kids from when I worked for Brainstorm 20 years ago come back and go, oh, I want to thank you for getting me introduced to the Harley Quinn character. I don't see how I could possibly recommend Harley Quinn to any child today. I don't see how, without telling the parents, like, if I were you, I would think twice about this one. And we're in an industry where people question, like, why can't they get more kids into the industry and things like that, there are a lot of parents that take the content that their children consume very seriously. For some reason, video games get more of a pass, I think, than comic books. Maybe it's because comic books are static images that you can like linger on for a while, whereas like on a movie or a video game, it's bam and it's on to the next thing or what have you.
Pause.
I know you can pause as well, but what I'm saying is it's a constant thing.
Right.
Like, there's very few people who sit there and like go frame by frame.
I don't know. I don't like to think like that. Hopefully there's very few people that live like that.
But not only that, I would say like some of the takes from the different people in the industry kind of annoyed me. Scott Snyder said, so preferred this discourse to should Batman kill the Joker. That question is integral to the character of Batman, whereas this question is just to satisfy your own whatever desires. I know that you had mentioned that we both believe Paul Dini is more of a pervert at this point than
Bruce Timm for sure.
Or Bruce Timm. I'm
yes,
sorry.
Yeah. Paul Dini. I don't know. I don't know about Paul Dini.
Sorry.
I'm gonna retract that and say I will not come on here and say I believe Paul Dini to be a pervert. I believe Bruce Timm to be one because he is self-proclaimed, and I think he would not find that insulting.
No.
Paul Dini, I don't know. I don't know about him.
I misspoke. And it's just funny to me that Scott Snyder has managed to squeeze Frank Miller's entire career into 5 years of a downward spiral and like thrown away everything that he had kind of gotten at this point. Like his first 3 or 4 years on Batman were really good, and everything since then has been kind of a travesty. But there are other comments by other creators as well. But like I said, I don't understand why you would be hung up on it. This isn't what superhero comic books are about. Like I said, I feel like you alienate a younger audience, because of their parents and things like that because of it. And one of the things I mentioned to you is, you can go ahead and say the counter argument before I go into it about like, well, what's the wrong with having content targeted towards an older audience? And
well, yeah, I mean, I think people on the other side of that would say that there are people my age and even a little bit younger who watch that, and it is, it's a hard R rated show. Like it's for mature audiences. They label it that way. They don't claim that it should be, suitable for children. They put that label on there, and I think obviously kids can get into any viewing that they want to if they don't have restrictions or if someone's not there to stop them. They can stumble upon anything, sure, but that kind of is out of the creator's hands at that point, and that's kind of into the hands of the guardians or parents of people who are watching them. And I think for the people who are adults and do like this character as is and would kind of say that, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's already this type of show. It's not like it was a kid's cartoon and all of a sudden they want to throw this line into there. They're saying that this fits the vibe of the show. And I haven't seen all of it. I've seen most of the first season, and I did enjoy it. I thought it was funny. I mean, it took a lot of obscure characters and painted them into a funnier light, and things like that. I think Kaylee Cuoco is doing a good job, much better than I thought she would at voicing the character. So I think people who have only had this incarnation of it, and it is a cartoon for adults with a mature label slapped on there, and it does fit. When I heard that was a line they wanted to put in there, to me, my first thought was like, of course, because that makes sense for what the show is. So I can understand that perspective from it, but I think people who already had the show, it's on season 3 now, are big fans of it. I know people that watch the show and don't read the comics and don't care about it, and they like it just from that side of it. They think it's a funny show and they want to keep watching it. It fits that model, and it's not like a completely like, whoa, where did this come from out of nowhere? This is too far. If anything, this is nowhere near pushing the lines of some other stuff they've done.
So this is what I go back to this. So number one, you said this is the character as is, and this isn't where the character started. This is what they turned her into. And I want to make sure I make this clear. I don't blame the creators, the writers of the show, as much as I blame the executives who greenlit it in the first place. Like, I don't think it should have even been a show that was made. And I've talked to you about this before. I understand Black Label is for a different type of audience, an older audience, but even Black Label I have an issue with to a certain degree. Now, of course, like I sell it, and there's certain, and I don't even necessarily hate the stories. There's just aspects of it that I think either go beyond the pale or were unnecessary to the storyline. Batman being naked in Batman Damned #1 was wholly unnecessary to the
You
story.
didn't feel like that improved your life in any way?
The Harley Quinn pseudo rape scene in Batman Damned #2.
They wound back real quick after the backlash of Batman Damned
Like
#1.
these were unnecessary even to the story. And then going back to what you said about like being a guardian, the problem with this is Harley Quinn is a marketable character that they market towards everybody. She's on the DC Superheroes Girl show, and so let's say your 10-year-old daughter, 8-year-old daughter is like just looking up Harley Quinn for because she likes the character from that cartoon, and it's very possible that this is something that pops up because of the conversation going on, and that's not something that a parent can stop because it's like, again, an innocent shirt. She didn't go looking for anything like to that degree. She was just looking for a character that she saw in a cartoon that she likes, and that's the thing I think people don't understand or kind of disconnect from. Like all of these things like matter, especially on the World Wide Web, like because it's related searches and SEO searches and things like that, keywords and things like that people look through, and it hits on the different topics. And like I said, so some people who are on the side that it should be in the show are like, oh, well, you're a prude if you, and it's like, I'm not against that content. Like what I'm against is using these characters for that content. So 20 years ago when Alias debuted with Brian Michael Bendis writing it, they had a scene wherein Luke Cage and Jessica Jones engaged in sexual intercourse, anal, and it kind of irked a lot of the people in the upper Marvel echelon, and they decided to move it from being a Max title about 1.5 years, 2 years later, and because they said that they can't have characters like Captain America or Spider-Man in a show in a comic book that involved that. Now, I will say, to me, it's a little bit different because those characters were not actually engaged in it. Luke Cage at that point was pretty much a C-list character, like wasn't doing much. Jessica Jones was a fully new character. That her character was whatever Brian Michael Bendis was saying it was because it was a new character. So I draw a little bit of a difference in that one, in that these were not already pre-existing characters targeted towards a younger audience. Yes, Peter Parker was in the comic, but he wasn't involved in that scene. Neither was Captain America or things like that. So, like I said, it's not that I'm against the content, I'm against using it with these characters. But I'll let you have a concluding...
That's fair. I think people also got angry with DC for them coming out strongly and saying, heroes don't do that. I think that a lot of the people receiving the information took it and ran with it in a poor direction, but I also think...
I will say, I want to pipe in for a second on that. I don't think DC meant it the way that it read.
And that's what I was saying. I think DC could have done better explaining what they meant rather than making a short statement that, again, people can grab and use against you and things like that. And again, I don't think they put it out there with the intention that people would be using it against them. I just don't think it was thought through all the way. And again, but I also see from your standpoint, it's also kind of ridiculous that we have to have that conversation involving cartoon characters that have been around for 75 plus 80 years, by now. Like, it is a little bit ridiculous that we have to have that conversation, but I agree that people who are like getting on DC are like, oh, you guys are prudes or whatever. That's clearly not what they meant. They just meant that these are superhero comics characters. We use them to fight crime and maybe steal a kiss here and there, but like that is not what the comics are for. That is not like our marketing scheme. That is not the grand deal of it. We don't think about their sexuality really at all. This is what it's for, is I think what they were trying to say. But that quick short statement didn't have all that follow-up to it that probably would have been a little bit better and made it look a little bit better for them, whereas now people are kind of using that to throw rocks at them and say like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, yeah, heroes do that. Like, that's not cool. What are you trying to say?
Yeah. Well, we will turn the page on this topic, hopefully forever. But And I just want to mention again, we're outside here at Brainstorm Comics and Gaming. If you hear any outside noise, like maybe a bird or whatever chirping, that's to be expected because we are outside here in Walkersville, Maryland. Also, I forgot to do it during the intro. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. LCS, your local comic book shop, Brainstorm Comics and Gaming. You can click on the logo in the lower right-hand corner, and it will take you to the subscribe button. So earlier today, you and I were looking over the different websites, trying to look for our topics for the week, and we saw that Miles Morales is approaching his 10th anniversary, and Marvel decided to celebrate it by undercutting him with a new terrible costume. After seeing this costume, what were your thoughts?
I think my thoughts are I would like to talk to the creative team and figure out what they're trying to go for, because just by looking at it, I can see a couple different things of like, okay, maybe they were trying to do this or they were trying to do that, or a couple different ways that I can look at that design and say, okay, I think I know what you were trying to do here.
Well, you mentioned the Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I mean, again, just by briefly looking at it again, I would love to hear what the penciler's ideas were behind it, why he laid it out like that. But just looking at it quickly, it kind of looked like a poor man's Scarlet Spider, Ben Reilly, and not good, like a really poor man's Scarlet Spider. And I don't think at first glance it's as bad as what I think the new Amazing Spider-Man outfit is. In my opinion, I think that one's still worse because that one's such a drastic change. And again, this character's been around for 10 years. That character's been around for much longer, and we're much, much more used to his costume. So I can kind of get that. But I don't think it works. I would love to hear what they were trying to do with the costume, but I don't love it.
I think it is a callback to the Scarlet Spider, and I think it is to do like a, since that's going to follow up the Clone Saga thing going on currently, I think it's probably going to tie into that, like to cast more doubt on people, whether it's Miles that survives or his clone. But that being said, it's atrocious, and I wonder how some people get jobs within the comic industry. I don't think it's going to appeal to anybody, and
it's fair.
They did invert the colors from the Scarlet Spider for the costume. I know some people like the Scarlet Spider look, and that's fine. But this one, I don't know.
I said I like Scarlet Spider. I like that character. I like that design. Like I said, I don't think this worked. Again, like I said, if that's what they were trying to do, and I think that's a large part of what it is, I can see it. I can see the resemblance. I can appreciate what you were trying to do, but it didn't work.
I wish I couldn't see it.
Well,
but
can't go back time.
Well, the other thing is, like, the Miles Morales costume has become iconic at this point.
Yeah,
like,
has its own movie.
Within a decade.
People love it.
Yeah.
It's like sequels coming out.
So, I don't know. Comics have always been weird to me in that they always want to change up the costumes of the characters. I know it's to sell, like, more merchandise, more toys, more everything, but I don't know. When I pulled that article up, I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah. It's not cute. Again, at this point, if they're releasing it, it is probably definitely what's going to appear on the page. But, I mean, they changed Sonic because people hated it enough, so you never know. So fingers crossed, maybe this won't be the final version of the costume.
I think it'll last until they remove doubt that it's Miles and not his clone.
Or maybe it is the clone.
That would be terrible.
Happy 10th anniversary. You're dead. It's a clone now.
That would be...
Happy birthday, Miles. You're a clone.
We'll turn the page on that and revisit it once we get more information regarding the new costume, and hopefully it's ending after a single issue. But we will see. So we'll move on to topic number 3. This one affects stores more than it will the average comic collector, but we figured this would be an important topic to talk about. Marvel has canceled the orders on a bunch of different graphic novels that have already been placed by stores, and they are making retailers resubmit those orders under the new terms, which are worse than the ones that they had with Diamond. I know you're probably not going to have less thoughts on this than what I do, but but we'll toss it to Chandler first for his insights into.
Well, I think anytime that any business decides to cancel an order without great cause, like obviously they have their own vested interest, but anytime somebody has already ordered, paid for something, is expecting something, and you go out and say, nope, cancel it, obviously that's going to draw some ire and people are not going to be thrilled with that. I think that's kind of a crappy thing to do. I think this is when Diamond was out there and said that they had big concerns about this, and they were like kind of like, you know, heading for the hills, panicking, and people were like, look, like they're still shipping their books through you, like it's not the end of the world, whatever. This is kind of what they were talking about, and this does kind of feel like Marvel is saying like, yeah, we're kind of still with Diamond, but like definitely not, and don't buy anything from them because we're going to be over here at Penguin Random House. And especially with DC not being a part of Diamond at all, Marvel now kind of having ties, but it seems like they're very quickly being like cut, and if anything they have them for the sake of having them, but doesn't feel like they're putting a lot of love and effort into that relationship anymore. It kind of feels like Diamond had a point there. At the end of the day, Marvel is a giant powerhouse, and people will still probably reorder those through the Penguin source of getting them. I think it's a crappy thing to do, especially for orders that were already placed. I understand if they said, hey, from here on out, last thing you ordered, like no more, like you're gonna have to do it through Penguin.
If you want to reorder it.
Yeah, like that would be fair, but to go out and actually say, nope, what you already ordered, like that's not coming in, you have to come get it through us, because that affects not just the store, but also customers and people who wanted that. Like it's not just affecting one group of people, it's affecting a large portion of people. But I mean, yeah, it feels like Diamond was kind of right to be concerned, because if they lose DC and Marvel, that's a lot of money being taken away from Diamond.
Well, I will say, thankfully, it looked like it was about 30 different graphic novels, and most of the ones were ones that are higher end. I tend to stay away from the Omnibuy just because they take up more space, and there's a smaller amount of people who are looking for those. They do have some like hardcore people, and I special order those for people, but I don't carry them for the store. So that was one of the positives of the list that I saw. But yeah, I think it's like it seems like they had promised Diamond, since Diamond had solicited it and stores had ordered it, that these books were going to be coming through them, and at a much better discount than what Penguin Random House does for comic book shops. Now, I will say Penguin Random House does free shipping, whereas Diamond does not. So the percentage isn't as terrible as what some stores are making it out to be, but it is still a percentage lost by the stores. Like I said, I'm not angry about it, but it does seem like
annoyed, peeved.
Yeah.
Doesn't sit right.
Well, you know, I'm taking the same stance on this as I did with the Lunar, and I've drawn a blank on the other one that because they already stopped doing it. But the when they went over to them, I was very much like, we'll see what happens, and it wasn't as terrible as some stores were making it out to be. I mean, it wasn't awesome, but it wasn't like tragic either, and I don't know. I roll with the punches and see what we can do with it.
But can Diamond roll with the punches is the question.
That is a concern of mine, because I think independents are going to be hurt the most.
Yeah. Which in turn hurts readers.
Yes, and comic book stores. We do pretty well with our...
and the industry as a whole, for creatives that don't have that outlet to tell their stories. As we know, Marvel and DC will let you tell some stories within their purview, and you have some freedom depending on who you are, but at the end of the day, they're not going to let you do everything you want with their characters. And if you want to have your own idea, they might not be thrilled with that either. If you want to have a new character, if it doesn't fit in what they want, it doesn't work. If these companies, these smaller independents aren't available, then these creators don't have an outlet with which to create, and that hurts everybody. That hurts people reading, that hurts the industry in general.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I don't know, like I said, I always hope for the best, so I'm hoping that it all works out. I hope that Diamond refocuses on independence and actually makes them stronger as opposed to weaker, because that's the only thing Diamond can really do at this point. They can either beg DC to come back and offer them ridiculous terms that convinces them to do so,
right,
or reinvest in independence and become, hopefully elevate some of the independent companies into being like powerhouses to the same level that Image is.
That would be ideal.
That's what I'm hoping. But let's move on. We'll turn the page on that topic, and we'll move on to one that you suggested this week, and that is the Eisner Award nominees
The Oscars for comics.
have been announced. Well, would people watch? Well, people don't watch the Oscars, so I guess
That's fair. So yes, to both.
The Eisner Award nominees have been announced, though. So we will go over what we got. 4 different categories that we found interesting. Chandler really fought for it. The best English adaptation of a foreign comic in monocolor from left-handed people, but I had to draw the line somewhere.
There are a lot of categories, much like the actual Oscars, which again, most people only care about 5 or 6 things, and they wait till the end of the night to give you that. We're not going to make you wait till the end of the night. We're going to talk about them right now. Again, we don't know who's going to win because they haven't been announced yet.
And we have no pull whatsoever.
And absolutely no pull in the Academy whatsoever. This is just our speculation, but we're going to get right to the actual juicy topics that most people care about who read comics.
So the first one we're going to talk about is the best continuing series.
Ooh.
I know this one was you choosing between all of your children.
There's a lot of good stuff out.
So we have Image's Bitterroot. We have
Great book.
Marvel's Daredevil.
Also a great book.
We have Image's Department of Truth.
Great book.
We have Image's Gideon Falls.
Great book.
We have Stillwater's Image also, right? I think it's
Image
Image's
Skybound.
Stillwater. And IDW's Usagi Yojimbo.
It's a solid list.
So we'll start with you. That's right, I'm putting you on.
It's hard, I know. A lot of these are really, really good. I think I said before.
Let's eliminate one at a time for you.
All right, so I will have to, just because I know a lot of people like it and they do read it. I do not read Usagi, unfortunately, so I have no idea how great the series is or not. So from my personal standpoint, and that's my detriment, that's my fault, I don't know, so I can't necessarily pick that in good conscience. Bitterroot is a great series. It's wonderful. I've been enjoying catching up on that. Unfortunately, with COVID and everything else, some independent companies or things were very sporadic with how they published things and how books came out. So Bitterroot happened to be on an extended break between series arcs, which is not uncommon for independents. But then with COVID, it really extended it and made it very sporadic, and things came out and very differently, so it was hard for me to figure out what was going on and when it was back and when it wasn't. So that to me took me out of the story a little bit. Not that it was anything against the story, because what I've been reading has been good, but for me personally, it took me a little bit out of there. Gideon Falls, I love. The first 4 story arcs are one of my favorite of all time in comics. I do think it ended in a whisper, not in a yell, to its detriment. So I don't know if I could put that for best series, just because it has concluded and I know how it ends, and I know that I didn't love the ending even though I love Jeff Lemire. So for me, I don't think I can give it to that series either, just for all those other things. So that leaves Daredevil or Department of Truth. Both are really strong series. Daredevil obviously already a television show, Department of Truth being optioned for a television show. Both really, really strong writers. I think for me, in terms of week-to-week overarching what I think is a really solid story-based foundation, I always want to give independents a little more love, and I do think Daredevil has been really strong, but it is also a Marvel book and therefore is confined to only being able to do so much with that character. So I will probably have to say, for me, I think best ongoing series right now, who should win, is probably Tinian's Department of Truth. It's been really, really solid. The art just adds even more to the storytelling, which is not always the case. I think it's really, really good. I think it will make a really great television show whenever it does option, wherever it gets landed, and they start developing that. I'm excited for that. So for me, I think Department of Truth would probably be my pick for best ongoing.
Gotcha. Much like you, I don't read Usagi Yojimbo, so that one I eliminated from mine first, unfortunately. Stillwater, I haven't had a chance to read yet. I know you keep yelling at me, telling me like it's one of the best books out there right now.
So good.
Daredevil, I read the first volume, but you know me, unfortunately, my time is more limited, so I don't have.
Also so good.
What's that?
Also so good. Chip's doing great things.
So that Gideon Falls, I read the first volume and I loved it, but again, time restraints have kind of kept me down on that one. So to me, it was left between Department of Truth and Bitter Root. Department of Truth already has the James Tynion name behind it and gets a ton of publicity already. Bitter Root, I think, is one of the most underrated books out there. And I think it would benefit the most out of all of these titles of a push like this. And so I hope it gets it, because I hope more people discover the title and what they're doing. They cover social issues without like beating you over the head with it and making you like feel like you're being lectured to.
It's very well done. They get the message across. They want to do it in a very creative and smooth way, where it's not preachy or political or in your face, but it's very well written.
And they talk about different ways of approaching race relations and how to do things. And so like I said, I think it's also an important book to read outside of just being a good book. So
Absolutely.
But let's move on to the second category, Best New Series. And we will see a familiar face in this one. So it was Black Widow, Crossover, Department of Truth, Philadelphia, and We Only Find Them When They're Dead.
Okay, for me, I have not read Philadelphia, and I know everybody says it's great, and the covers always look very intriguing. I'm not a huge horror guy, and
Yeah,
the
me
whole
either.
vampire, yeah, okay, whatever. The whole like vampire, that type of thing, like, it's never really super appealed to me. So for that reason, again, a little biased because of that. I have not read it. I can't really vote on that. Black Widow, I again unfortunately have not read. I felt that has been kind of hard to get into, because I feel like even just over the last year and a half, 2 years, there's been several different versions of that character, iterations, starting over with number ones, miniseries. It's been kind of hard for me to narrow down and jump on, okay, well, does that have anything to do with this, or who's writing it now, or is it another number one again? I feel like that unfortunately has led me to not pick up that title. Like I said, I think Department of Truth is really, really great. I think it's an awesome new series. We Only Find Them When We're Dead. I love Al Ewing. I was a little bit on board at the beginning because the art is just absolutely stunningly gorgeous. Cover art and interiors, which does not happen every day. And it really does add to that universe and really gives it this epic, awesome feel. But unfortunately for me, the story is just very lacking. It's very slow, and the couple things they did try to do to kind of zhuzh it up and make it more interesting and grab you in really fell short for me. And I did not think it was that great, unfortunately. I love Al Ewing. I think he's a brilliant writer. I love Immortal Hulk. Hopefully good things on Venom, but I just don't find that one very appealing to me. So for me, I think between Department of Truth and Crossover. Crossover, as much as I'm not the biggest Donny Cates homer. I'm not super up there. I think he's definitely overhyped, and people tend to flock to him no matter what he does for anything. And I think that's a mistake. No matter who the artist or writer is, you shouldn't blindly follow anybody down any rabbit hole. I do that myself with a couple, so I'm kind of being a hypocrite. But I think Donny Cates overall is getting a lot of love. Some of it earned, some of it not necessarily. But this series is really, really fun. There is a lot of just independent crossovers. Some of it is his own stuff, some of it is other things. It's just been really fun. The characters have been very interesting. The development there has been some plot twists that you have not expected. Really cool concept. So for me, I think I would have to pick that one for Best New Series.
So for me, Black Widow, I've never really been interested in that character. It just never appealed to me. It has, I mean, if it appeals to other people, that's fine. Like, it just is not a character that's ever really spoken to me.
That's fair.
You know, I've always been more of a DC guy anyway, but
Fair.
We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I read the first issue because I did like Immortal Hulk, and that was the only issue I read. So
The art was good, though.
The art was good. I I think Al Ewing would have probably benefited from having an editor on that book
Yeah.
that was more hands-on. For some reason, I think the Image is probably more hands-off on those, especially if you have a name for yourself already, like Al Ewing does. And I think that if he had a stronger editor that worked on the structure of that story, it would have been much better. I
So
feel
if I remember Dead Image, or is it Boom?
it might be Boom. Oh yeah, it might be Boom.
I think it's Boom Studios. I mean, same thing though. When it's independence, typically you have a lot. In some cases, complete creative freedom to do whatever you want, which in some cases is great. In some cases, some writers do need an editor to be like, hey, tighten this up.
Yeah. And like I said, I think that one would have benefited greatly from somebody having him rearrange the story structure, but that's my personal opinion on that one. Philadelphia, I have not read. The artwork in it looks, I do page through it, like it looks amazing, but again, my time constraints because of a 3 or 2.5-year-old at home, and mostly what I read is Dr. Seuss when I when I get home. So I read, so that leaves Crossover and Department of Truth. Crossover, I feel like it had a lot of potential that it just didn't live up to. I feel like there were a lot of things that could have been done in the issues, and I know it's still going, but I don't know. I read like 2 issues, and I was like, I don't know. I didn't feel like there was enough to it to constitute it being an ongoing.
Picks back up.
What's that?
Picks back up.
It's possible.
Second or third issue hits a little bit of a slump.
It's possible. What's my rule for my time?
5th or 6th.
What's my rule for my time though, Chandler? You get one issue, and I gave it 2, so I tried. And like I said, that's a personal taste thing though, because you, Balmori, and I feel like one more person has told me that Jason has told me that it's like really, really good. They really enjoy it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. Like I said, I feel like there were a lot of opportunities missed more than anything else. But so Department of Truth, I feel, is a book that fills that Grant Morrison type hole that a lot of people like have, but it's more comprehensible.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to have read.
Less of an acid trip.
Yes.
Although the art will make you assume it may be an acid trip, but
I will say that that's the only thing I would change on Department of Truth. Not that the artist is a bad artist, and I know it fits the story, but I would tweak it a little bit.
Can give one a headache after a while.
Yes. So Department of Truth is my choice for that category. But let's move on to category number 3, and that is Best Writer. Several great choices in this one. Ed Brubaker, Jeff Lemire, Matt Fraction, Jonathan Hickman, James Tynion IV, and Chip Zdarsky. You don't have to eliminate them in this one. You can
That's a solid list. The only one on there I feel, well, I don't even care. I'm going to hate for this. I don't think Hickman and Matt Fraction should be on that list. I think there's a lot of other people doing a lot of amazing things, especially when you only have a certain amount of people you can put on that list. I think that's a slap in the face to some other people. And I know some people love Jonathan Hickman, and I love a lot of the stuff that he's done. And Matt Fraction is great. You know, a lot of people like Sex Criminals and, you know, and I don't know, other things he's done. But I don't feel like this year, especially when there's been so much good stuff out there, like so many good writers, that those two should have taken someone else's spot, but whatever. For me, I think, and this is hard to do because several of these guys on here are in my top tier all the time. I will read mostly anything they write, or at least the first couple issues. They'll have my curiosity because I trust them. But for this year, for just overall several different books, main titles, independents, Marvel, DC, all over the board, has just been hitting it out of the park with every single one. I'm probably gonna have to give it to Chip Zdarsky. I think it's very hard to come from an artist to become a writer and to do it incredibly successfully. Not everybody can do that, and I think he's done it wonderfully. I think everything he has done over this past year and a half from that I have read has been fantastic, both independent, Marvel, and now DC. He has his hands in everything, and you would think that eventually some of that would start reflecting poorly, but everything is staying very consistently good. Not many people can do that, keep that many plates up in the air, and he seems to be doing it very well, so I'd have to give it to him.
So for me, I narrowed it down to 3, that being Jeff Lemire, Jonathan Hickman, and James Tynion IV. Jeff Lemire, the Black Hammer universe, is doing some amazing material that I feel like a lot of people are missing out on.
Oh yeah.
The numbers should be much higher on that book than
Way higher
than what they are. I think when a Netflix show comes out, I can guarantee you there's going to be a Netflix show or something coming down the pipe for that. I think when that comes out, people are going to have their mind blown, and it's going to hit a whole different. I think it's going to hit Walking Dead type levels for that book. He's also doing some great stuff for DC and other independent books as well. He did not make my final choice though. Then we have James Tynion. Then we have James Tynion IV, who is doing some amazing stuff for DC. We have the new book just launched a couple weeks ago, Nice House on the Lake. We have Batman, we have Joker. Joker is the best Batman book out there. I know some people will argue with me on that one, but you'd be wrong. And then we have his independent stuff, Department of Truth and Something is Killing the Children. I won't mention Wind because that one just doesn't have any wind behind it for me, but
some people like. Some people don't.
I feel like that's probably one of his weakest title out right now.
But I think that's still not bad. If somebody says that's the weakest book you're writing right now, I don't think that's a slap in the face. Shows everything you have going on.
But James Tynion did not make my pick either. It was Jonathan Hickman. And I'm not going to lie, like I'm not even an X-Men fan. I don't read the X titles. But the reason he made my top pick, if you had told somebody 5 years ago that X-Men would be a top-selling book again, they would laugh in your face and tell you, like, sure, Marvel doesn't care about them, so why should I? Marvel was even trying to take down the X-Men by inserting the Inhumans as being the go-to alternative. And thankfully, due to the Fox purchase, and I'm not a big fan of the Fox purchase because I think Disney has too much power, but thanks to the Fox purchase, they have put resources behind the X-Men again. And I think Jonathan Hickman has done a great job of resuscitating that whole franchise into being something that is viable again. Again, I personally am not an X-Men reader, but just by being able to do that, I think that a lot of people would have laughed at you 5 years ago or 10 years ago for even thinking that it was even possible.
I don't want to have to learn new codes and dialects every time he writes a book. It's confusing. And also, they're just going to kill all the X-Men in a little bit of time anyway. So none of it really matters.
But I'm sure you know what I mean.
I do. No, for sure. He has put them back out there again. I always think it's laughable because they go through a cycle of everyone loves them and then Marvel kills them all and then everybody's like, what? No, I couldn't see this coming.
But I think the damage that Marvel had done to them over the last couple of years, like most people would not have believed it was.
Oh yeah, they were gone. If Fox hadn't been making movies, I don't think most of the general populace would have any idea who the X-Men were.
Yeah. And then our final category, Best Artists. Michael Allred, Marco Cicchetto, Jorge Corona, a guy I don't know, Bertrand Gognol.
We apologize to you and your family.
I don't know them.
I don't
Mitch Gerards and Evan Shaner or Sanford Green.
So this one to me, again, I don't know. Like we said, that one person, unfortunately, we don't know how to pronounce your name. No disrespect to your work. I don't know that person. So I have to go with what I know. Mark Cicchetto has been great with Daredevil.
Underrated artist.
Underrated artist. He has done a lot of the covers. He has done a lot of the interiors. As of lately, the past year or so, he has not done as much of the work, which I think hurts the book because the other people that step up to the plate are not nearly as talented. I can always tell when he is not there. It is very clear. So I think just in terms of completing every issue and being a part of all of it, I do have to knock him points for that because he is not consistently there. I would say I think that I would have to go with Sanford Green, just in terms of, like you said, I think Bitterroot is a great story, and not picking that for best, ongoing is no detriment to the book because I think it is a very wonderful story. I think it's an important story. I think it's a very ingenious idea, and I think his pencils do so much more to that story and add to the elements, whether it be the monsters or it be the family that we focus on for that story. It's really good. He's been on every single issue, covers, interior is a critical part of that book. Daredevil has continued without Mark Gicchetto. I don't think Bitterroot could continue without Sanford Green. So for that reason, I think I would pick him.
So for me, it came down to pretty much two people, Marco Cicchetto and Sanford Green as well. Mitch Gerads I just threw out because he's attached to Tom King, and Tom King destroyed Wally West.
Well,
And
Mitch Gerads and Doc Chainer. I threw that one out kind of because I don't feel like that's fair. Like there's like two of them and they're both insanely good on their own. I feel like
don't care.
They might win because of that. I don't feel like they should. I feel like that's kind of unfair to have
Anybody
tag
attached
team.
to Tom King I don't like,
I mean, it's fair.
because Tom King destroyed Wally West. And
Massacred your boy.
I can't forgive it.
It's fair.
Can't. Michael Allred, I've never been a big fan of his art. I think his layouts are great, but I don't know. His art just never really appealed to me. But because you chose Sanford Green, I'll go with Marco Cicchetto. I like Marco Cicchetto a lot.
It'd be a deserving win.
I feel like he is approaching superstar status. I think when he first came on the scene, I think I even told you, like, this guy's amazing. He's gonna go places.
Yeah.
And like,
I was very pleased he got paired with Chip, and I think they've done great things with Daredevil. That's what I said. I wish he was on the book more. Like,
Yeah.
He's great. I wish he was there all the time.
well, he does a lot of details, so I think it's hard for him to do like a monthly series.
I can get that.
Yeah. But either one of those would be a good. Sanford Green is he has a very cool style. It's kind of a toned down version of kind of Mike Mignola. A little bit play on that, I think. So, like I said, either one of those would be good. And as much as I was picking on him, Mr. Ads also, I like his art. I just wish he wasn't paired with Tom King as much as he is. But
Always. Seems like that's all he works for.
yes. So, we're moving on. We'll turn the page on that topic, and we'll move on to Chandler's favorite part, Stump John.
All right. So you know the rules.
Oh yes, I do not know any of these in advance. Chandler
John does not know
tries to
the
humiliate me.
characters I'm about to pick. He may know them just because he knows who they are, but I have not given him previous viewing to this list. He doesn't know what pairs I'm about to throw out. He's allowed to pick one or the other who he thinks first appeared in the comics. Could be, we pretty much stick with Marvel and DC just to give him a bit of a break. It's a lot harder if you throw independents in there as well. And Marvel and DC have also been 80 plus years, so that's no picnic therefore. The last couple I was starting to go a little bit easy. He was doing a little bit better than expected, so I threw off the training wheels.
3 out of 5.
I threw off the training wheels, and we're really going for this one. I want it to be 0 out of 5, so we're really going for this one. I don't know if it will be. Just I preface that. I don't
You
know
realize I have a coin flip toss.
don't know if
on
it's
each
that
one of them.
amazing. I know it's a 50-50 shot, so it hurts my odds here. I might have to start making it best out of 4. All right.
You want me to put 4 in order?
The first one. Yes, I want you to put 4 in order. Yeah, good luck with that. That's if I really want to win, if I start getting my feelings hurt too bad. All right, the first pairing I have is Dawnstar or Captain Britain.
Who the hell's Dawnstar?
Hello, Legion of Superheroes. Wow, you need to wake up. Living in a cave, man.
This will be a guess because I have no idea who the hell Dawnstar is. Because I don't know who they are, I'm going to say Dawnstar.
Right. Solid choice. And in fact, I was hoping you would do that because Dawnstar first appeared in Superboy and the Legion, 226 in April 1977. Captain Britain, you'll recall, first appeared in Captain Britain #1 in October of 1976. So Captain Britain was the answer we were looking for there.
I'm older than Captain Britain and whoever that other person was.
Dawnstar, man. Read up on your Legion, dude. You love Legion.
Mark Waid likes Legion,
That's
therefore I
true.
do not like Legion.
But so does...
I'm joking. I actually like
so does
Legion.
what's his
Dan
face?
Abnett had
yeah,
a great
there
run
you
on
go.
that.
Dan Abnett loves Legion. All right, I'm sure she was there. You just missed her.
I don't think so.
There's a lot of members, to be fair. Legion has a lot of characters.
I still have no idea. I'm going to have to look them up after this.
All right, second pairing. We have everyone's favorite, definitely John's, the Spectre, or the Flash, Jay Garrick. Who made their appearance first? The Spectre or the Flash, not Barry Allen, Jay Garrick, the first Flash.
Jay Garrick.
All right. So the Spectre premiered in February 1940 in More Fun Comics number 52, And Jay Garrick appeared January 1940 in Flash Comics #1, so you are correct. It was the Flash by 1 month. He beat the Spectre out. All right. Third pairing. Now we're getting serious. Blue Devil or Psylocke? Yeah, that's right. I threw that out there.
I want to say it was Blue Devil.
Is that what you want to say?
Yeah.
Is that what you are going
Yeah,
to say?
Blue Devil.
Okay. All right. So Blue Devil appeared in June 1984 in Fury of Firestorm #24, which then became his own ongoing series. Psylocke first premiered in October 1986 in New Mutants Annual #2. So you are correct. Blue Devil was about 2 years ahead of Psylocke. All right, #4. Speaking of Psylocke, I know how much you love the X-Men. So we are going to say, who premiered first, Gambit or Jubilee?
Jubilee.
I don't like how aggressive you were in your answer there. Gambit came out in July
266,
1990
and the other one's
in
244?
Uncanny Annual #14.
Oh, that doesn't. Nobody counts that.
I count that.
Whatever.
It only further helped me. It didn't help you at all. That would have made it even further away from Jubilee. Jubilee premiered in May 1989 in Uncanny 244. And I hate her, and she's further proven how much I hate her by not helping me get this victory.
There are people arguing for that to be his first appearance, and they're wrong. But continue.
Either or would have just made it even further away. So it didn't really help. Still not close enough. All right, last pairing for this round. I have Valkyrie or Abigail Arcane.
Abigail Brand?
No. Abigail Arcane, like from Swamp Thing.
And what was the other one?
Valkyrie.
The original Valkyrie or
Sure.
Jane Foster? Or
Not Jane Foster.
I'm just making sure that we have.
Would have been a lot easier of a question if it was Jane Foster.
So Abigail Arcane or Valkyrie? I'm gonna say Valkyrie.
I just want to say this was a very rushed list, and I don't care how much you can guess and be right. Valkyrie premiered in December 1970 in Avengers 83, and Abigail Arcane premiered in March 1973 in Swamp Thing #3. So you are correct again.
4 out of 5?
Yeah.
Bam!
Did not go how I planned.
What's that?
Did not go the way I planned.
Were you shocked I pulled the Jubilee one out?
A little bit. I was trying not to think about her, so I don't know when she premiered, so I can't stand her.
You were like, John doesn't know X-Men, haha. How'd that work out for you?
Not well.
Not well. We want to thank you for watching this edition of Turning the Page. Let us know what you think on the different topics. You can tell us where you stand on the Batman, Catwoman fiasco and your opinions on the Eisner Awards. I'm sure that many of you think that Chandler and I are heathens for not liking some of the writers and artists that we don't like, but that's the great thing about comics is there's a wide variety of things out there for no matter what your tastes are. I know you and I joke about it, but we really do mean it. That find the stuff that you like and read the stuff that you like, and
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what other people's opinions are.
A little something for everybody.
Exactly. So we want to thank you again for watching. Don't forget the LCS, like, comment, and subscribe to the Brainstorm Comics and Gaming, your local comic book shop in Frederick, Maryland, our YouTube channel, and thank you for watching.